Okay, dear colleagues, let's go. Now we start our lecture. Today our topic sensation and perception. Sensation and perception. Just a moment now, I check my video. Good morning, dear colleagues. Today our lecture, Sensation and Perceptions, or Sensory Processing. I am Alexander Tversky, Professor of Psychology and Psychiatry. First, yes, of course, definitions. Definitions and introductions. What does it mean? What does it mean, sensation, perception? Okay, I hope you remember. Psychology is a science about behavior. We don't live in vacuum. What does mean behavior? Behavior is a reply to the external influence, or behavior is a result of the mental process. Behavior is an objective. I hope you remember. Behavior is objective. We can register behavior due the special device or using our sense organs. What does mean behavior? Behavior is a way to accommodate ourselves into the environment. Environment every time take new task. We resolve new task via our behavior. Behavior is objective, and I hope you remember. Behavior is a reply to the external event. Behavior is a reply. It's a result of our internal activity. What does mean external event? External event, it's some energy which we receive from the environment, because informations, it's a energy. Sound, light, vibration, temperature, everything which registers our sense organs, it's a energy. Energy changing our sense organs, change conditions and send impulses into the brain, in the CNS, in the central nerve systems. Receptors do transduction, energy from the energy to the neural impulses. Okay, we have two processes. First process has name sensations, second process has name perceptions. It's a psychological process. It's a psychological process because this process happens inside nerve systems. We can register sensations, because sensations it's looks like an objective, it's a stream of data, and perceptions it's a very complex internal mental process. Sensory processing divided into the two classes or two stages. First stage it's a sensations, second stage it's a perceptions. But in general, usually we call this process like a sensory processing. Sometimes we use terms perceptions. But in the everyday language, we mean then perception, it includes sensation and perceptions. But in the science, in the neuroscience, in medicine, in psychology, we use terms sensation and perception separately. Sensations. What does mean sensations? Sensations, it's a process which provide for our CNS elementary properties of stimulus. What does mean stimulus? Stimulus, it's everything which can register our sense organs. Our sense organs receive information like energy, and after that our sense organs transfer all information to the impulses, to the activity of the CNS. Clear? First stage, it's our receptors register energy. Second stage, our receptors generate impulses and send these impulses into the nerve systems. In the last stage, all kind of information which we're receiving from the environment, we transfer to the absolutely same impulses, which impulses inside our nerve systems. Impulses has a same electricity parameter, like a voltage, like a ampere volt characteristics. Different ratio, but ratio in general same. It's between some Hertz till 50 Hertz. Maximum ratio which present in our nerve systems is the 50 Hertz. Okay, I repeat once more. What has been sensation? Sensations, it's a process in which we receive information about stimulus. Stimulus, I mean physical properties of stimulus. It's like brightness, it's a length of the wave, and it's amplitude. Color, it's a length of wave. Temperature, it's a vibration of molecular. Taste and smell, it's a shape of molecular. A lot of information we receive via our sense organs. We receive physical properties of signal. What do every sense organs has name in psychology sensory channel. For example, this is a visual channel, this is an auditory channel, this is a tactility channel, olfactory channel, gustatory channel. It's a sensory channel. Yes, of course, special sensory channel attaching to the special area of brain. But inside sensory channel, information impulse is very same. I mean, we're receiving temperature, but temperature our sense organs transfer to the impulses which has a voltage and ratio. Two main parameter, voltage and ratio. Impulses which provide our skin and impulses which provide our eyes. From electricity point of view, very same. Same voltage, same ratio. What's different? Different is receptors which generate these impulses and different area of brain. For example, our visual channel finishing in the occipital lobe, auditory channel finishing in the temporal lobe, tactility finishing in the precentral gyrus, in different area of brain. Clear? Okay, and every receptors depends sensory channel. I pay you attention. Every receptors can register only one type of channel. It's like a filter. Via our eyes, we can feel only visual informations. Why we feel visual informations? Because area of brain which receive signal from our eyes, responsibility only for visual. All kind of information which we receive via our eyes will be registered. It's only visual informations. What does mean visual? What does mean vision? Vision is activity in the occipital lobe. What does it mean hearing? We listen something when we has activity into the temporal lobe. Clear? Okay, I repeat once more. Sensations. What does mean sensation? Sensation, it's a psychological process. It's a psychological process in which we receive elementary properties of signal. It's mean physical properties of signal. Perceptions. Perception is the detection of the more complex property of stimulus, including its location and nature, involve learning. What does mean perceptions? It's a rapid, automatic, unconscious process which we recognize what it's represented by the information provided our sense organs. Now we think about these definitions. We have two definitions. First definitions. Perceptions, it's complex properties of signals. What does mean complex properties of signals? It means we include not only physical parameter of signals. Due to the perceptions, we receive information about our former experience in skills. Our perception process integrate. It's a very complex. It's a very complex psychological process, because perceptions, it's a cognitive process which include nature and locations. It's mean due to the perception process, we integrate our former experience and skills with informations which we receive via our sense organs right now. Cognitions. Today I use terms cognitions. What does mean cognitive process? Cognitive, it's like a smart. It's a synonyms. It's a smart. What does it mean? Due to the cognitive process, we integrate word around ourselves in one networks. For example, we see something, we understand what does it mean. You recognize picture, and you recognize picture like a language, like a script. Yes. Yeah. Now you see to the screen, and you recognize screen of the picture like an English language. Why you recognize picture like an English language? Because you have a former experience and skills. You're learning English language. If I use our other language like a China language, I hope for you are registered this picture like a picture. Maybe you recognize only name of language and you understand it's not a picture, it's a different language. Clear? Okay. Perceptions, it's a cognitive process. Due perceptions, we recognize advanced parameter of signals like nature, locations. Nature and locations. For what purpose we can use these signals? What does it mean, these signals? Clear? It's a lot of parameter. We register a lot of parameter, but this parameter we extract from our experience and skills. It's like you're learning, for example, you're reading books about what does it mean fruit, and after that you understand fruit, it's maybe kind of food. Next, sometimes perception, it's an unconsciousness process. What does it mean consciousness and unconsciousness? Consciousness, it's mean if you understand something, it's a consciousness. In consciousness, we understand what's happy with ourselves. Clear? If you understand what you see, it's mean it's a it's object in consciousness. What does mean unconsciousness? For example, you do a lot of activity without thinking. You walk around the pool, you open the door, you don't think how to open the door. You open the door, but you don't think. It's unconsciousness. Unconsciousness operations much more quickly, but unconsciousness operations has one problem. What's main problems in unconsciousness operations? In unconsciousness operations, we has a lack of awareness. Operations which we do in unconsciousness mode more quickly, but more simple. In consciousness operations more difficult, but very slow, but more small. And yes, of course, our target learning operations and shift operation from consciousness to unconsciousness, like a sport. First, your step, you're like a think how to do something. After that, during the learning process, you do operations absolutely automatically. When you do operation automatically, you do this in unconsciousness. Okay, I repeat once more. Perception is a psychological process in which we recognize complex properties of signals, involve nature, locations, and nature of signals. Due to perceptions, we use former experience and skills. Perceptions, it's a cognitive process. Cognitive process, I mean this process which use our memory, our thinking, our consciousness. It's a high mental operations. It's a high mental operations. Due cognitive process, we integrate current, former, and future. According to those definitions, seeing the color red, it's a sensations. But recognize apple, it's a perceptions. What does it mean, recognize apple? Recognize apple, we mean then this is a fruit. It's a food. We can do some dish from apple. Clear? It's a more complex fruit. It's a experience. Fruit. It's a usual. It's a something. It's you understand what does it mean? Fruits, yes, and vegetables. You understand vegetables and fruits. It's your cognitions. Clear? You like use thinking. And use a thinking, you categorizing and combine, compare, categorizing. It's a cognitive process. It's a thinking process. Okay. Apple. It's a perception image. Red. It's a sensation image. And dear colleagues, pay attention. Usually we use very interesting terms. The name of these terms it's sensation fields and perception fields. What does mean sensation fields? Everything which you feel right now via your sense organs, it's sensory fields. Clear? What's parameter of the sensory fields? Sensory fields very clear. Sensory fields, you can receive additional information about sensory fields. But we cannot change parameter of signal in the sensory fields. For example, now font is black and screen is white. You cannot see opposite. You cannot see in your eyes black background and white font. It's impossible. Clear? Why? Because sensory image, it's like real words. It's real words. But yes, of course, it's not the real words because it's only reflection of the real words in our nerve systems. Clear? It's a reflection. It's not a true word. It's absolutely different things. What does it mean? What does it mean different things? It's a reflection because it's not. What does it mean? Light. Light. It's a electromagnetic wave. Sound. It's a mechanical wave. But in our brain, absent sound. In our brain, absent electromagnetic wave. In our brain present only neurons which send electrochemical impulses from one neurons to other neurons via the synaptic cleft. Clear? Nerve systems, it's a computer which manipulates with electricity impulses. It's a chemical computer. And everything which happens in our brain, it's not true. From physical aspect, it's not true. But for ourselves, like for person, for ourselves, like an individual, it's absolutely true things. Clear? It's absolutely true. Okay. I hope now you understand what does it mean sensations, what does it mean perceptions. I repeat once more. Sensations, it's a stream of data. Perceptions, it's a cognitive operations in which we recognize image. What does mean image? It's a finger step of reality without means. What does it mean perceptions? Perceptions, it's a reality. It's a recognizing of reality. It's an understanding of reality. What does mean reality? Reality, it's a mental process in our brain. It's a consciousness. Sensory processing consists of some stage. First step, it's a transductions. Second stage, it's a temporal coding. Third stage, it's an anatomical coding. I pay your attention. Now we discuss not about perception. Now we discuss about sensations. First stage, it's a transductions. Second stage, it's a temporal coding. Third stage, it's an anatomical coding. Okay, signal. Signal contact with receptors. After that first stage, starting in our receptors. First step, it's a transductions. What does mean transductions? Transductions, it's the conversation of the physical stimuli interchanging in the activity of the receptor cells of the sense organs. Other word, what does mean transductions? Transductions, it's a transfer energy from the physical energy to the nerves impulses. Due transductions, we receive physical energy contact with receptors. The receptors generate impulses and send impulses to the nerve systems, to the next part of the nerve systems. Special receptors have special transductions. For example, receptors in our ears reduce mechanical wave and generate impulses. Mechanical wave, I mean wave it's like a change density in the environment. When I speak something, it's a change of the density of the air. Yes, of course. You can listen sound via the in water. Why? Because sound wave, it's a change density. It's a change density, and this sound wave can passing in water and in other hard in the other hard environment. Transduction. Special receptors reduce special stimulus. I hope you understand this phenomena. Special receptors reduce special signal. Usual receptors has some restrictions to the parameter of signals. You remember then, physical properties. Yes. For example, our eyes register only special parameter of wave, of special parameter of the electromagnetic wave. Yes. Electromagnetic, we don't register, for example, FM radio via our eyes. Yes. But we register light. Light and radio, it's a electromagnetic wave. What's different? Different ratio. Ratio of the light much more high than the ratio of the radio. For example, radio wave, it's near the 2 meters, it's near the 75 centimeters. And what does mean light? Light, it's a length of wave, it's near the 40 from the 300 till 500 nanometers. Clear? Nanometers and meters. But we register only a short part of the spectrum, of the very short part. Okay, our sense organs register a temperature. They register like a type of surface. Yes, of course, temperature, type of surface. It's a different. Say so, receptors. Our receptors, it's like a filters which register only specific signals. What does mean transductions? Transductions is the process by which the sense organs convert energy from environment event into the neural activity. We transfer all environment event into the activity of the nerve systems. In general, in our nerve systems present only electrochemical impulses. But in the environment, we register electromagnetic wave, we register temperature, we register shape of molecule. For example, sound and smell and taste. It's a shape of molecule. We register other parameter like I don't know, like sound. Yes, tactility parameter. In tactility parameter, we recognize what's part of our body registers signal. Why different part of our body register we recognize like a different signal? Answer very easy. Different part receptors which situated in these hands and in these hands terminate in the different area of brain. From this hand terminate here, from this hand terminate here. Clear, like a cross. Next, other phenomena: lemon smell and lemon taste. Lemon, it's a fruit which has a same molecular, but in nose we register like a smell, and tongue we register like a taste. Why it's happy? Because taste and smell, it's a different area of the brain. Clear? In the last stage, our sensations, it's an activity of the special, very specific area of brain. We can directly stimulate special area of brain and developing special feelings. Clear? Special feelings. For example, if we inject electrodes in the occipital lobe and send impulses, patients will feel some light, some visual imaging. Clear? When we inject electrodes in the temporal lobe, patients will feel sound. Why it's happy? It's happy because, answer very easy, because our sensations, it's only activity of the neurons into the brain. Special, like a reality, it's activity of the sensory part of brain. What does mean reality? Reality, it's activity of the sensory cortex, sensory area of brain. Clear? What's different between reality and dreaming? Different area of brain. It's activity of different area of brain. If we stimulate, if something stimulates sensory area of brain, we recognize this like a real signal. When we stimulate other area of brain, we recognize this like dreaming, like other psychological process. Okay, I hope you understand what does it mean transductions. Transductions. The type of the transduction accomplished by the sense organs. Eyes, light, it's radiant energy, it's electromagnetic energy. Ear, it's a mechanical energy, it's sound. Yes. Vestibular systems, it's mechanical energy. Tongue, it's a shape of molecular, it's tongue, it's a taste, it's a shape of molecular in our mouth. Nose, it's a smell, olfactory feelings. Yes. Tongue, it's a gustatory feelings. Nose, it's a olfactory feelings. It's a recognized shape of molecular configurations of molecular. Yes. Skin, different receptor of our skins recognize different energy. It's mechanical. Usually, it's a mechanical energy, and sometimes it's a temperature. Temperature, it's what does mean temperature? Temperature, it's like a speed of the molecular vibrations. Okay, now you understand. We recognize a lot of energy, but in our brain, energy absent. In our nerve systems, present only activity of the neurons. Anatomical. Oh, I'm sorry. Temporal coding. What does mean temporal coding? Temporal coding, it's okay, you remember definitions. What does it mean sensations? Sensations, it's first, it's properties of the signals. And how we coding properties of signals? Properties of signals, we coding due ratio. Different ratio, different coding of signal. For example, tactility, yes? Or maybe temperature. Temperature, I feel temperature here and I feel temperature here. Different temperature. Yeah? And what does it mean different temperature? Different temperature, it means receptors generate different ratio in this and in this place. Clear? Receptors like at 5 hertz, it's 35 behind zero, and for example like 10 behind 0, it's like other, for example, maybe 10 hertz. Clear? Different ratio, different properties of signal. Every receptors generate a special register only special energy. It's a first level of the filtrations. Special receptor attention to the special area of brain. It's a next level of filtering. Next, special different properties of signal. Our receptors recognize like different properties of signal. For different properties of signal, our receptors generate different ratio in the nerve systems. Clear? Special parameter of signal, it's a special ratio inside nerve systems. Who do transductions and temporal coding? Receptors. Temporal coding and transductions happen into the receptors. Anatomical coding. What has been anatomical coding? It's very easy. Anatomical coding means then special receptors terminating in the CNS in the special area of brain. We can feel. What does it mean auditory, and what's different between auditory and visual informations? In our brains, auditory signal is the activity of the temporal lobe. For our brain, visual signal is everything which happens in the occipital lobe. Does not matter present or absent signal. Clear? It's very important to understand. Does not matter present or absent signal. Because we recognize, because for our nerve systems, signal like it's activity of the CNS. And yes, of course, usual activity of the CNS recognize via receive information from receptors, but sometimes present some traumatic event which stimulate sensory cortex directly. When something stimulates sensory cortex without signal from receptors, we recognize this like hallucinations. What does mean hallucinations? It's a recognizing of the real signal without signal. Clear? Why it's happy? It's happy because maybe receptors generate impulses without stimulus. Maybe present stimulation of cortex without signal from receptors. Clear? Anatomical coding. We can recognize. We never recognize visual signal without stimulus of the temporal lobe. Other words, does not matter from what source of signal. Important only last stage. Sensory cortex like a split signal to the some channel. Like tactility, it's a placental gyrus. Yes, it's every area of brain reflecting, every area of body, reflecting in the brain in the special area of brain. What does it mean? Finger tactility. It means when you touch your finger, we has activity into the very specific area of brain. What's different between tactility here and tactility here? Different area of brain switch on. Clear? What does it mean visual? When you close your eyes, increasing activity in the occipital lobe. When you listen something, it's increasing activity to the visual. When you see something, activity into the occipital lobe. When you listen sound, it's activity into the temporal lobe. It's clear? You must understand sound absent, light absent, present only activity of the special area of brain. We can now we don't understand temporal coding and we don't understand anatomical coding because now we don't understand coding. It's like a MP4 codec, MP3 codecs. Yes, for coding signal we need decoding signal. Okay, when we understand main rules of the anatomical coding, we can send signal to the brain directly via our peripheral nerves. When we understand what coding receive our brain, we can stimulate nerve system directly. We can stimulate nerve system directly. Clear? What does mean directly? We can send signal directly to the brain without our peripheral nerves. Clear? And we receive like a new reality which will be generated via computer directly to the brain. For example, for create visual signal, we need attach electrode to the occipital lobe. For create auditory signal, we need attach electrode directly to the temporal lobe. Yes, of course, we can attach electrodes to the nervus auditorius, to the nervus opticus. when we understand coding which use receptors in our eyes, we can generate via computer signal which our brain recognize via the nervus opticus like a real visual signal. And I pay your attention. It's be full reality. It's be full reality. Very easy example. Touch your eyes, and when you touch your eyes, you see some visual picture, some image. Why it's happy? You see image because all kind of stimulation of your retina. You understand, when you close your eyes, light absent. But when you touch your eyes, you do mechanical stimulation of retina. After that, your brain recognizes this mechanical stimulus like a visual image. Why it's happy? Because everything which passes into the visual cortex, in visual area of brain, we recognize like a visual signal. If you touch your ear, press to your ear strongly, you will feel some sound. Why it's happy? It's a mechanical energy. But your all information which we receive via nervus auditorius, our brain recognize like a sound. Clear? Why it's happy? It's happy because because we have visual area of brain and auditory area of brain. Auditory area of brain. What does it mean? Auditory area of brain. All activity in auditory area of brain we recognize like a sound. All activity in the visual area of brain we recognize like a visual image. In general, what does mean visual image? It's activity of the visual area of brain. What does mean sound? It's the area of the auditory cortex. I hope a lot of students and I'm in morning drink coffee. Yeah. What does mean coffee machine from point of view of our nerve systems? First, it's a visual image. It's an electromagnetic wave which reflect coffee machine and our retina register. It's a one sensory channel, optical channel. Second channel, it's a sound. When coffee machine do coffee, listen some specific sound. Yes, it's a mechanical wave. Mechanical wave registered via your ear. After that, it's a smell of coffee in the morning, and it's a taste of coffee in the morning. It's our nose and our tongue, yes, and it's a sense organs which involve this process. Every sense organs, what does mean sense organs? Sense organs, it's a receptors. Receptors contact, it's a bridge between nerve systems and reality. Reality, it's a energy, it's a specific energy. After that, our tongue, all activity which has a tongue, it's only, what's activity of tongue? It's a test. Activity of eyes, it's a visual picture. Okay, after that, receptors has activity. After that, receptors special signal transfer to the ratio. Receptor generates special ratio for brightness, and special receptors recognize special light. It's a psychophysics. This area you can reading in your books which we provide for you. Next, what's happening next? Next we has other interesting phenomena. After that, our receptors send informations via pathway to the brain. I pay your attention. Sound which generate coffee machine, you register into the occipital lobe, to the temporal lobe. Sound you register like activity into the occipital lobe. Last picture, it's anatomical coding. Temporal transductions, it's a receptors. After that, temporal coding, it's a receptors. And after that, mapping of signal, it's a brain. Special area of brain's responsibility for special signals. Clear? After that, your cognitive ability, it's like a finish of the sensory processing. After that, perception. After that, we integrate all informations which present in our brain, and we recognize sound, smell, and next. and visual picture, it looks like a coffee machine. Maybe we has a coffee today in the morning. Clear? It's a conclusion you see in future. If coffee machine work perfectly, we receive coffee after some times. It's like you see in future. Your previous experience explain what does it mean coffee, for what purpose you use coffee. You integrate all informations. Clear? Now once more think about transductions. Yes, receptors, transductions, and temporal coding. It's mean coffee machine. We register in our receptors. We register physical energy and transfer physical energy from physical energy to the activity of the neurons. It's a transductions. Temporal coding, happy into the receptors too. Special properties of signals, special brightness, special color, activate special receptors, and every receptor generate a special ratio which coding special parameter of signals. It's happy into the receptors. After that, anatomical coding. Anatomical coding, it's a activity. It's a activity of the special area of brain, which like a reflect activity into the special receptors. Visual signal we decoding to the occipital cortex. Sound of coffee machine we register into the temporal lobe, and smell of coffee we register into the olfactory area of brain. It's happy into the into the CNS. A very interesting phenomena. For example, when we attach nervus opticus to the occipital lobe, when patients open eyes, patient will listen sound. Why it's happy? All kind of activity, does not matter for what nerves. All nerves has the same electricity parameter. Does not matter what activity and does not matter what input signal. Input signal same in all modality. Input signal from nervus opticus has the same electricity parameter like a signal which has a nervus auditorius. I hope it's clear for you. It's very understandable, yes. And but what type of signal we feel depend what area of brain is active. When we stimulate, when we attach microphone to the visual nervus opticus, when microphone we detect sound, patient we feel visual image. Does not matter it's electricity microphone which I use right now for my lecture. Maybe it's a microphone like our ear. Does not matter. Sound be recognized like a light. Why it's happy? It's happy because everything which happy into the occipital area of brain we recognize only like light. Clear? All activity in the temporal lobe we recognize only like a sound, because name of the cortex or area of brain, auditory area of brain and visual area of brain. All activity of visual area of brain, it's a visual image. All activity, all area of the auditory area of brain, it's a sound. Olfactory area of brain, everything's all neuronal event which happy into the olfactory area of brain, it's a smell. Clear? Does not matter of source of activity. It's smell from the smell receptor. It's maybe smell like a mechanical stimulate of those area of brain. Does not matter. Special area of brain responsibility for the special modality. Modality is the sensory channel. Okay, thank you very much. Bye. Okay, dear colleagues, now a lot of students today. Okay, I hope. Okay, dear colleagues, lecture was clear for you? Yes, no, yes, no in chat. Lecture was clear for you. You understand something. Thank you very much for your attendance.